Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw, and I'm here with Jack Anderson, who's the Interim President and CEO of Crystal Cruises. Now, a lot's been going on with Crystal recently, including their announcement that they would start cruising from the Bahamas, and we're going to talk to Jack about that, and obviously how they've been dealing with the pandemic over the past year. It's the first interviews Jack has given. He's done press conferences, and we want to find out about what's going on with this great luxury brand and what the future looks like. And you're going to hear all about that and more on Insider Travel Report. Now, Jack, first of all, how are you and where are you? It's good to see you.
Today I am in beautiful, sunny, blue-skied Key West, and it's good to see you too.
Now, let's talk first of all the big news. You just announced it earlier this month that Crystal is restarting ocean cruises in July in the Bahamas only. Just tell us a little bit about that plan and how you developed it.
First, I absolutely have to give credit and deep thanks to the Honorable Dionisio de Aguilar, who is the Minister of Tourism and Aviation, and Joy Gibberlew, Director General of the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism. Mm-hmm. Their cooperation, their responsiveness, their graciousness in helping us put together this relaunch will never be forgotten.
Right.
In terms of the Bahamas specifically, how it happened and why it happened, it's close to home.
Right.
Nassau has good airlift. Bimini has a ferry from Fort Lauderdale. The Bahamas management of COVID looks like a stock market crash in terms of their graph for cases.
Right.
They've done an excellent job and continue to progress in the management of that. Their hospitality, unsurpassed.
Sure.
The Bahamas, as close to home as you can get, our neighbor. The islands are absolutely pristine and beautiful. We were able to create an itinerary that is all within one country, which to restart necessarily at this point needs to be fairly simple, I think, and close to home, reassuring. The other thing that goes into making it possible was our decision early on that we were going to require guests to be vaccinated, mm-hmm. Which wasn't 100%, but it was probably 90% favorable, both among travel advisors and our past guests.
Right.
That was a reassuring policy. So it sort of met the criteria that would allow us to restart. Europe, with deep sadness and regret, is still extraordinarily uncertain.
Yeah.
It's a roller coaster and complex itineraries that visit many ports in many countries. Everything has to line up.
Yeah.
And there's still a great deal of uncertainty about when that will be possible. So it was not easy, but ultimately we made the decision that we would take the ship out of its planned itineraries in Northern Europe, bring it to the Bahamas, where we are highly confident that we can execute these voyages safely and pleasurably. Mm-hmm. We don't open for sale until Thursday, but our web traffic and phones have blown up.
I'm sure. People are excited about it. You know, people want to get back to sea, and you got a lot of loyal customers. I know that. Now, remind me, this is Serenity or is this a Symphony that's going to do this? Serenity. So that's a little bit larger, if I recall, right?
Well, the published capacity of the ship is 980.
Right.
We made a decision that we will cap capacity at 900.
Okay.
For even though it is one of the most socially spaciously designed ships at sea,
Sure.
By reducing it to 900, it makes it even more. It has the largest guest space ratio of any ship in the Americas at that 900 cap that we're putting on it.
No, that's a good thing. Now you're doing 7-day cruises, and where are you stopping?
Long Island, Exuma, Harbor Island, and Salvador.
Wow, that's a nice little itinerary.
And least I forget, Bimini.
Bimini, that's right. Yeah, you're flying in there. No, that's going to be a nice cruise. I think that's going to be. And how long is this going to run? Do you think?
We're starting on July the 3rd from Nassau, July 4th from Bimini. We've announced voyages through October, and we'll evaluate how these voyages are doing, and also sort of the world condition to more exploratory and distant destinations, whether be the Caribbean or South America. So we take it one step at a time in evaluating at this point. But that's 16 voyages that we planned.
16 initially, okay. So any idea when Crystal will restart in other parts of the world? I mean, obviously not just ocean cruising. You've got river, you got yacht cruises. Obviously we're seeing a lot coming out. You have a lot of plans for 21, 22 especially, and 23. But it does seem everybody's up in the air about when we can all get back to Europe, as you mentioned, which is huge for obviously river cruising, right?
I'll talk about river first. Our information we're getting from the countries in terms of their openness and welcomeness to North Americans and under what conditions, it is still uncertain, and cases in countries have the graph hasn't been straight down. It's been kind of like a humpback camel with a couple of humps.
All right. Yeah, no, it has. We know what Italy just closed down a bit again, and all these different places.
It feels like we're doing everything we can to take step forwards, but we just might be on a down escalator. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I'm not sure we're making a lot of progress as it relates to Europe yet. My best read is they're 3 months behind us in vaccination progress. And that really doesn't bode well. Our general view is that for ocean, river, and yacht, we'll kind of evaluate on a monthly basis. And we also made an internal decision out of consideration for travel partners and our guests that we would do our best to kind of determine viability 90 days out.
Right.
And so we've been canceling. We canceled June probably 3-4 weeks ago.
Right.
We're going to try and do that forward-looking 90-day sort of viability on a rolling basis. There's still a fair amount of hope for river, maybe mid-late August or September.
Right.
So no one is ready to give up the entire river season yet.
Right.
For the Esprit and the Symphony that are planned to be in Europe, we just evaluate every month, 90 days out, to determine whether or not we think we'll be able to operate those cruises.
And then you also have another ship coming out. You have your expedition ship coming out. I don't know, is it this year or next year? I forget.
This year.
This year. And you could run it in Antarctica, right?
It was planned to be out earlier, but the yard is in Germany and was caught up in closures due to COVID. So there's been a fair number of delays in the ship. The current technical delivery is scheduled for the end of May.
Oh, great.
It's completed its first 3-day sea trial and exceeded expectations. So it's progressing well. After the technical completion, there'll be owners outfitting and more testing and more sea trials. So we don't expect it would go into revenue service at the earliest, say mid-July.
Okay.
And there it is caught up in what countries, what itineraries might be viable at that point in time.
But you could foresee you could have an Antarctic season.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I think most of the cruise ships that operate in October, November, December, January, February in Antarctic are still expecting that season will happen.
Yeah, no, I think that's that one. It's it's pretty pristine down there if you can get everyone down there. Now,
and there's a lot of social distancing as well.
That's right. Yeah. A lot of white social distancing. There's a lot of distance between them. But that you and I can go there. We don't even have to see each other. Just the other side of the continent, right? So let's talk a little bit about how did Crystal get through this pandemic? How did you survive? I mean, everybody seems to be surviving, but just specifically, what did you have to do?
I think we did the same thing that every other cruise line did, which was not pleasant at all.
Right.
We've been forced to lay off or furlough over half of our shore-based staff.
Right.
And send home all but skeleton crew for the ships. In addition to the reduction in staffing, everyone took very significant pay reductions and benefit sacrifices, hopefully temporary. And the employees at Crystal are as loyal as the guest and our travel advisors. They love Crystal. So I would say it's a belief in our guests, our travel partners, our employees, and the brand that we could and would get through it. And for all of this time, we've been planning, most importantly in terms of health and safety protocols, which we call Crystal Clean Plus. But looking at the Healthy Sail Panel, CDC, CLIA information, our own experts, we put together very, very, very thorough testing and protocols, both guest and crew. And then with the introduction of the vaccines, it became, if we could find a destination and itinerary close to home, that we'd be able to get started and then put one foot in front of the other and maybe on the correct side of the escalator.
Absolutely. Well, it certainly must have been a hopeful sign when you announced this Bahamas plan to your entire staff and obviously to your future guests. Yeah,
the morale boost for our guests, for our employees. We immediately sent it out to our crew, because they cannot wait to get back and see their favorite customers and people that they've sailed with in the past and back to service and being what we should be.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, you were groundbreaking in your requirement for vaccinations. I know, American Queen here in the States for Rivers and Victory, they announced it at roughly the same time. And then actually today, as we're speaking, Virgin just announced that they would also require a vaccination program. So it is starting to spread, although I don't see a commitment from some of the major lines quite yet.
I think depending on your demographic of your customer base, it may be difficult, more difficult for premium or mass market, just because of the practicality of the prioritization of vaccination. It will be inevitable It will be every line.
Right.
It's just when.
How soon they can get access to vaccines. And you're right, the market for, unfortunately, you and I are unfortunately in that demographic, so we're good. It's the one positive we can even see about this, right?
Yes.
Get the vaccines, right? Now, let's talk a little bit about what is going on with your parent company, Genting Hong Kong. I know it's got developments all over the world, and obviously they've been very supportive in building Crystal over the years. So what's the direction there from them?
Their public statements that I can share are that they are still in the process of a debt restructuring that they're optimistic will be concluded in the relatively near future, which will help with cash flow. It is also true, and it said publicly that they were considering a number of equity partner scenarios, whether those are minority or majority. Those are public statements they've made. All of those discussions take place at the Genting Hong Kong level, and we're not generally privy to, and they don't make a lot of public statements because
right.
They're a public company until things are actually signed. For Genting themselves, there are a couple things I can tell you. Their brand, Dream Cruises, has been operating for months.
Wow.
Out of Singapore and Taiwan, safely and profitably. And look, and this may harken back to your very first question. They have a round trip itinerary of short cruises, all within one country.
Oh, wow.
So that model, in terms of the practicality of starting, first came from Genting and Dream Cruises. And when we saw that, it made a whole lot of sense. Great deal of our health and safety protocols have come from them because they've been operating for months.
So they've got experience doing it, so that's good, and it's nice to hear they've been profitable doing it.
They're profitable doing it, so they're generating cash again. Like every other cruise line, they've had a year of no money coming in, only money going out, and they're a major casino owner and operator, and casinos are starting to gradually open up, which is another source of revenues for them. And for all the problems Crystal's had, Genting has stood by us and said unwaveringly they believe in the employees, they believe in the brand, and they believe there is a future for Crystal. And essentially for the last 12 months, almost exactly, with zero money coming in and only money going out, which all the cruise lines call cash burn. Anybody who runs their checkbook like that knows how it feels. Yeah. Making no deposits, but you're trying to make monthly payments, it gets rather painful. But they've been supportive of Crystal for all the difficulties we've had in a belief in us and the brand, and that we will come out the other side stronger.
No, and you have now they are also the company behind Resorts World in Vegas, or is that a different
yes.
company? That is too. So that's going ahead, and that's supposed to be opening
Resorts World in Bimini, one of our ports of call.
That's right. They have it there too. So they've been successful, and they keep on building those resorts. So I know there's some speculation out there. They had trouble because of this, but they've kept going with their plans, and they're a huge company, and I'm sure they'll find the money when they need it. So it sounds to me like those who are doubting them maybe a little premature in judging them, I would think.
I think so. It hasn't been easy. Different lines have had different financial strategies in terms of borrowing to keep going. But I'm a great believer in all boats float on the tide.
Right.
And I want to see all the cruise lines, all the brands come out of this on the other side stronger, and supporting our retail distribution system.
Absolutely. Well, they've been seeing no money for the past year.
They've been beat up for a year too.
Yeah. Now, actually, one of the things I did want to talk to you about is one of the issues for some travel advisors was that they claimed Crystal was allegedly slow to refund monies to customers who did not want a future cruise credit. And I know you issued a statement about this a couple months ago. Has this situation been resolved? Have you now refunded all or most of those monies? And what was the issue to begin with, I guess?
I would take off the word allegedly.
Okay.
Because it's an absolute fact that, just to be straightforward and honest, in terms of our cash flow situation and guest refunds, we have been really performed poorly. Mm-hmm. And for any travel advisors, I first and foremost say we can do nothing more than to deeply apologize, because our performance has really been bad. And it was access to capital, unlike other lines that could go out and borrow billions of dollars or sell off ships. Those weren't really options for us.
Right.
It's been more difficult, but where we are today, from the beginning of COVID through the end of April, for all of the canceled voyages, we are, the last time we measured, we were over 75%. I know it's significantly higher than that today. So right. Over $164 million in refunds, about 75% plus of all guest refunds. We have reached agreements for being able to draw on fully collateralized letters of credit that we have. So with those additional funds scheduled to come in, we believe we will have 85% of guest refunds at the end of this month and 95% of guest refunds by the end of April.
Okay, that sounds good.
Equally importantly, yes, we have prioritized guest refunds, but our agent partners have also been let down. And through this access of additional funds that we've now secured, our expectation is that about 40% of all travel agent commissions will be paid this month and another 40% in April.
Wow, that's great.
And then hopefully the balance in May. It's a moving target because there is continuing canceling voyages.
Yeah, right.
That are working on the other side of the teeter-totter. But at this point, I have reported to our key accounts and our strategic partners, one, our apologies, and two, a timeline commitment of when we believe that we will make very significant progress in our obligations, which in fact was the first commitment I made last October when I became interim president.
Yeah.
That was our number one highest priority and a prerequisite to restarting cruising. Because I have to have the confidence of customers and our agent partners for the future.
But you said already with the Bahamas announcement that you've had a great interest by both advisors, obviously customers. So maybe they are quick to forgive and forget and realize this is all going to happen, right?
Well, I'm a very results-oriented person. The only thing I'm really interested in is making sure we get all the refunds done and get all the agents the money they owed, because from a cash flow point of view, they've had a really, really tough time as well. I didn't mention it in the Bahamas, but because of the context of this whole conversation, for these 16 voyages, we also added a $100 per stateroom bonus commission, which is part of our way of saying thank you for the agents that have been incredibly supportive and loyal, for hanging in there with us.
No, and I'm sure they'll appreciate that. And I know that a lot of Crystal agent advisors who've been loyal to Crystal, and I have been on a few of your gala cruises over the years, recognizing your top sellers. They do have a lot of loyalty to the brand, and it has been a top brand in the industry for so long. And that goes actually to my next question. I mean, you're obviously actively promoting sailings on both oceans and rivers for 22 and 23. So if anyone's wondering, I don't think you're going out of business anytime soon. So it's looking like pretty good. Can you tell us a little bit about...
Let me comment on that if you have time, because I think this is an all boats float on the tide situation, but for our ocean ships, Symphony and Serenity,
right,
for 2022, our basis of comparison is 2019.
Right.
Because that's the last year you have a full year of operation. Compared to the same time ahead of 2019 for where we are today for 22, ocean is up 32%.
Wow. Compared to 19.
Yeah. River's up 66%. And our little lovely Esprit yacht is up 54%.
Wow. That's great news.
And we'd like to take a lot of credit as being special and unique, but I think it is that pent-up desire and a year of not cruising. People want to get back together in a more normal social.
No, absolutely. They definitely want to do this. Now, and obviously, way back when, I remember you did have plans you have the new ship coming out later this year, the expedition ship. And at one point, you had plans for a new ocean ship. Is that still on the books, or what are you thinking about?
The ocean ship, from Genting's point of view, is they are absolutely committed to. It has been repeatedly delayed, and most recently because of changes in financial condition.
Right.
But Genting is a long-term strategic organization in how they think and evaluate. They believe in the cruise industry. They believe in Crystal. And they provided repetitively to us the assurance that it is their plan and intention that Crystal will have a new ocean ship, and it will be the most spacious, luxurious ship ever built.
Wow. That's great.
I can't tell you when yet.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. Although I have to say that your existing Symphony and Serenity, you upkeep so well that you walk on board those ships and they feel brand new. I mean, it really is amazing.
Well, that's the goal.
Yeah. Now, let's talk a little about the river ships. You have you had 5, then you had 4. Now you have back to 5 because it looks like Crystal Mozart is back in the fleet. How did that happen, and why did that happen?
In 2019, a decision was made that we had, because of Genting's strength in the Asia market,
right,
we had developed a very substantial guest sourcing for the river cruises from Asia that was distributed on all of the ships. But the perception was that the size of the market and their love of Crystal was sufficient that we could dedicate one ship to the Asia market.
Right.
And in so doing, we could better serve that market with menus, entertainment, language, to actually improve the service that we provided. So the original plan for 2020 was that Crystal Mozart would not be marketed by Crystal on an international basis.
Right.
Would call it a subcharter.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
For Crystal Asia and exclusively for Asian guests. Well, that obviously went to hell with COVID. And the ship did not sail in 20 and has not sailed, will not sail in 21 either.
Right.
Just too late in the game to try to bring it on. But we then did make the decision that we want, what guests told us and what travel advisors told us is they absolutely love that ship.
Yeah. No, I was on it when it began. It was an amazing ship.
So we're bringing it back in 2022 as a Crystal sales and marketing product sold internationally. It will be on the Danube. And we've done a couple interesting things that we're pretty excited about. We took the ship's capacity down from approximately 160 to 120.
Yeah, wow, that's a big drop, yeah.
That's a big drop. The way we did that is the Mozart has about a meter above waterline a whole row of window staterooms.
Right.
And they have been difficult to sell. So, what we did is we said, all right, we're going to take all of those, we're going to dedicate them for solo travelers, and we're going to sell them at the double occupancy rate.
Right.
No single supplements at all. We then priced and benchmarked off of the competitors to make sure that, in fact, we weren't doing a bait and switch, but it was truly a genuine, amazing deal for solo travelers. We think it's a large market,
right,
and a group market for solo groups, and we have committed 38 staterooms on every sailing of the Mozart for solo travelers with no single surcharge. Period.
No, that's great. That's great news. Yeah, and in fact, I did sail on that at the beginning, and luckily I didn't have one of those rooms. I had one on the upper deck, and it was beautiful. But even the suites down below, even though they did only have windows, they still were beautifully appointed. And
they're rather spacious,
right.
At least competitively speaking. So there'll be excellent solo staterooms. As we brought the Mozart back, we took the Mahler and redeployed it to put it on the Rhine,
right,
Mosel, with some new itineraries from 5 nights up to 14 nights. Mm-hmm. So with a fair amount of variety on the Mahler coming back in 2022. And if you saw the numbers, our 22 river sales compared to 19 is up 66%.
No, well, I think people are starved to get back to Europe and back to river cruising especially, and you are one of the few cruise lines that offer both. There's only one that other than I know of at the moment that have both, and it is a great way to see Europe, and both your 4 newer ships are just so spacious themselves and have the lowest number of passengers per capita. So I think they're really great products, and I've told your team, Walter and everyone, Walter Littlejohn, that they know what they're doing, and they've done a great job in launching that line. And I was glad to see the Mozart come back, because that was the first one, your very first river ship. It was retooled from its original. It is, but it looks like nothing like it ever did, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about, you've been interim president now for a few months. When can we expect Crystal to name a full-time CEO? Or, hey, why don't you just take the job on for a few years? The company, come on. I mean, what you're so eager to retire to Key West? Just get a few more years out of you? What are you doing?
I think I've retired at least 4 times.
I know that, sir.
I'm just not very good at it.
I could have told you that. I know you well. You've been trying to retire, they keep dragging me back in. It's like crazy, huh?
I'll tell you very honestly, when regrettably Tom Wolber decided to retire, which was last October.
Right.
I was asked to step in as interim president, because we were in a crisis, the COVID crisis, right. Our own financial crisis. It doesn't sound as modest as I would want it to, but I felt an obligation
right.
to the brand, to the employees, to the crew, to help as best I could.
Right.
I set out some really simple objectives. Get our guest refunds completed, get our agent commissions repaid, develop safety protocols, and get all of our ships back in the business of serving our guests.
Right.
And though we've made a lot of progress, there's still a ways to go. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a timeline. I am enjoying what I'm doing as long as I'm accomplishing those pretty simple, basic objectives.
Right.
And at some point in the future, I'm sure Genting and I will agree on what's best for Crystal's future.
Right.
It's not yet.
No, I don't think so. Well, it's laudable that you came back at a time of crisis when they really needed you, and you've been forging ahead, and hopefully we'd like to see you when there isn't a crisis, and there is later this year, next year, and you're making all these plans to get everything back up to speed. So we hope that you can benefit from the fruits of your labors too, and at least see a little bit longer about what it's going to look like in the future. Now, is there any
our crew back? That's what I want.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm there to welcome them back.
Absolutely. Now, is there anything else you want to say to travel advisors, who may be wondering about the future for Crystal? And I know you have a lot of loyal travel advisors, a lot of loyal guests, but what would you like to tell them beyond what you've already said?
Well, I will start by apologizing about our poor performance and reassure our commitment and that we are on an accelerated track for both commissions and guest refunds. And I guess if there was anything else I could say, we will have more surprises for them in many good ways in the months to come. And from the bottom of my heart and every Crystal employee, the travel advisors that have been so supportive and patient, we thank them. We know we have to re-earn their trust and their loyalty, and we're going to do it.
Well, Jack, it's great to see you. First off, I'd love to see you live one of these days. We'll see what. Hopefully that'll be soon. I will. Yeah, I will. Because it's been too long. But again, thank you for taking the time to speak with me. It's great to hear about what's going on at Crystal today, and it sounds very encouraging. Obviously, the big news about the Bahamas cruise and all your future plans forging ahead with the new expedition ship. And obviously trying to make things right with travel advisors and their customers. So it sounds like you're committed to that, and I'm happy to hear that. And hopefully our audience will be happy to hear that too.
Thank you, James.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.